Oh boy, you guys. Hi again. And wow, the healing that is taking place by doing this. And I'll talk about some of these really massive things that are occurring right now in the healing of the parable of Calico. It's quite profound. One thing I want to say before I start, today we're going to go to Africa. I turned 40 and went to Africa. So, that was a whole scene unto its own. But if you're looking at your mind and working with your mind, really see the theme of your thinking. And, Werner, back in the S days, he was saying one of the things that before you could even become a S leader, you had to heal your relationship with your parents. It was critical. You couldn't go further without healing that relationship. And one of the things with A Course in Miracles, I'm really, really seeing is look at whatever beliefs you have about your mom or your dad, because there's probably some core belief that you have been working on throughout your life to heal that started with them, but you can't get beyond it because you can't forgive them. And, all I can say is keep praying. That's really the answer to everything. Keep praying. So anyway, I want to talk about Africa. So I'd been in practice about 15 years. I turned 40, and there was massive delusionment in my practice. Here I am thinking I can fix broken things. And, you know, people would leave my office feeling better, but then they'd come back in a week or two with the same thing. And so it was really like, why am I doing this? There's no lasting value in fixing broken things. It was the first time I started shaking up this belief that I could fix broken things. So I turned 40. I'll never forget this. It was Christmas Eve. Couldn't sleep, got up, turned on CNN, and they were talking about Somalia that was going on at the time. And I thought, okay, that's it. I need to get closer to the fixing broken things. I can't do it from here. I've got to go to a place that really needs to be fixed. And in my mind, that was Somalia at that moment. I thought, okay, I'm going to go feed people in Somalia because that's definitely broken. And perhaps I can have some impact getting closer, okay, to that which needs to be fixed. It was, all these great ego ideas. So I went, I didn't, it was hard to get hired on by an NGO over here. And I had talked to somebody and they said, yeah, if you go over to Nairobi, they're hiring, volunteers from Nairobi. That's where all the NGOs are. And so again, my ego just said, oh, great idea. Let's take our resume, go to Nairobi and find an NGO, which is a non-governmental organization, to volunteer for. Sounds good. So I tied up my life here. Oh God, there was a person, a doctor that would fill in for me for 6 months because that's what I kind of set myself time-wise. And I had a friend that needed a place to stay, so he was going to stay at my place and take care of my animals. I mean, everything just lined up. And within a week, I was on the plane to Nairobi, resume in hand. So I got to Nairobi and started hoofing it around Nairobi to every NGO I could think of and find. And there were a lot of them. There were a lot of them. I actually got accepted by the Red Cross to go up to Somalia and vaccinate camels because I had experience with horses. But I decided against it because in my head, I really wanted to feed hungry people. I wanted to be with people. So I didn't take that job, and I went to, I don't know how many. It was going on a month. I was just walking around Nairobi with my resume. And one of the things that I really got was most NGOs did not want to hire a, a Mazunga, which is white girl, off the street to go up into a war zone, which makes total sense. But at the time, I couldn't figure it out. I had such desire and passion to do this. So I went there. Oh, also during this time, a roommate of mine I didn't know Papa G at the time. I didn't know Papa G from anyone, but I definitely loved God and had a strong focus on extending love that I didn't understand at all, but I wasn't too concerned about that at the time. She gave me Papa G's address and say, maybe just send a message to Papa G. So I wrote this guy named Papa G a letter saying I was in Africa, I don't know what I'm doing here, on and on. And while I was still hoofing it around every day to these NGOs, I received a letter back from Papa G. It was a long letter, but the gist of it is just love all. Just love all. I'll never forget the gist of it. So at some point, I really recognized the International Rescue Committee was an organization that I really liked. It was like a bunch of hippies like myself wanting to fix broken things. Seemed like a good fit. So I sat on the entrance to their building. I sat on the steps. I just go and sit there every morning as they're walking in to go to work. And I must have been there for about a week. And finally, the director saw me and he said, "You're not going away, are you?" And I said, "No, I came here to be of service." And so he invited me in. And all I can say is that's that degree of stubbornness that my mother and I shared about. We wouldn't give up on loving each other, even though my father wasn't talking to me. My mother would call me every Sunday when he was at mass. She'd call me and we'd share. And I asked her at one point, why do you think we never gave up on each other? Because God knows we had a lot of reasons to give up on each other many times. And she said, I think we're just too stubborn to give up on each other. And I thought, yep, that's probably true. So I get that's the same thing with this NGO. I was too stubborn to give up on this flight of fancy to fix broken things. So they sent me up to Somalia. I went up there for 2 weeks. It was scary. And as a very tall white woman, even though I had a hijab on, didn't make any difference. I was obviously a big white woman from America. And that just, your target for someone that feels like you have money. So I decided, no, I can't do this anymore. And I told, the folks back in Nairobi, I said, I'm wanting to be service, but I need to leave Somalia. And so they sent me to a refugee camp for Sudanese. And it was huge at Kakuma. It was, we had a slogan in Kakuma, go to Kakuma, see Africa, because we had Ugandans, Zairians, Somalis, Ethiopians, Sudanese. I mean, there were many countries represented. When I first got there, there were 7,000 refugees. When I left, there were 75,000. That was after 6 months. So it was growing by leaps and bounds. Anyway, I had many kind of responsibilities of whatever really needed to be done. We did. There was 25 volunteers and at the end, 75,000 of them. So it was a little bit, there was a lot of problems and they weren't getting fixed, which, to someone that wants to fix problems, this is just disconcerting. So anyway, they called me a public health they called me public health. I don't know what that meant. But like for 2 weeks, I spent walking around. It was probably a 7 mile area in the camp. And I was told to walk around and mark on a map where I found latrines and then had to go in and tell how full they were. And so we could identify where we needed more latrines. And, it was such a, that was when I started praying a lot more. And I would, in the morning, I would just burn incense and put my feet in the smoke going, bless my feet, God, and just allow me to see whatever it is in front of me as the lesson for me for the day. And it was the beginning of A Course in Miracles. And I think I may have started reading it, but I didn't understand the course when I first started reading it, so it didn't matter. But this is the way I got through it. And so then I took on 25 locals from around the area of the camp, different, countries. And they were my public health workers. And so we would meet once a week. I'd go to their tents or huts, and they would show me their most difficult cases in their areas, so as we could kind of get a handle on keeping track of all the broken things. And we were on for 6 weeks and off for a week. And we'd go to Nairobi for a week. And when I'd come back, I'd bring gifts for these women. Tea, soap, whatever, small things, but, just thanking them for their kind service to fix broken things. And I was completely humbled because always after giving out the last gift, the women would organize a little raffle and see who would take home the plastic bag that the gifts came in. And it was just so humbling, so completely humbling. Oh, my plastic bag that, I end up recycling. Anyway, they were gifts from God. And God, I'm just thinking of all the things that happened there. I also set up an AA meeting. That was wild. I ordered a book from the foundation of, I don't know how many books are in a case, but I ordered a case from them in Swahili. So that was, there are lots of stories there, but there was one woman, one of my public health workers, Mary. She can still bring a tear to my eye. Single woman with many children, made it to the camp, and she found to be of service was helpful for her. And when I left, I gave her my shoes because she had no shoes. And she couldn't speak. We communicated without speaking. And she just went, and there were many gifts like that. And there were many moments of total breakdown. In my mind, it was a very difficult experience. And when I came back, well, let me read this because it was an illusion. Again, the whole African experience for me was a total illusion. And I need to say this because this is one thing I got from it too. There are different beliefs just depending on where you come from. Like the Kenyan nurses at that time did not believe in giving blood. That was not okay to give blood, to donate blood. And so I'm an O positive. So I was always being asked to donate blood, which I felt fine with. But again, all illusions. Doesn't matter if you believe the Democrats are right or I believe the Republicans are right. It doesn't matter. They're all illusions. No illusion, this is from chapter 26. No illusion has any truth to it. Let me repeat that. No illusion has any truth to it, yet it appears some are more true than others. Although this clearly makes no sense at all. All that a hierarchy of illusions can show is preference, not reality. So in the Kenyan nurses did not believe in donating blood. I believed in donating blood. The hierarchy of illusions in my ego mind said, they're wrong, I'm right. And it's silly to think that, your soul is being lost by donating blood. No, it was my hierarchy of illusions, and mine was always more correct. That's pretty much throughout life. Okay, so all that a hierarchy of illusions can show is preference, not reality. What relevance has preference to the truth? Illusions are illusions and are false. This is Jesus talking. Illusions are illusions and are false. Your preference gives them no reality. Okay. So while in Africa, there were many female refugees that made it to the camp, and then there were many more that did not make it to the camp. The refugee life is kind of a tough existence for women from my belief system. And Mizrek, and we'll talk a little bit more about her, she was a friend of mine. She and her sister had walked from Ethiopia to the camp, and she was just beautiful. She spoke very good English, and that's why we became very fast friends. And she volunteered at the hospital. Here they are living under a piece of blue plastic, and she's volunteering at the hospital. So my heart just went out to her huge. But again, she was an illusion. And I gave her a hierarchy because she was a good illusion. She was a worthwhile illusion. So I asked her, because as I was walking through all the camp all these times, I noticed that many of the tents and plastic was being shredded. And I asked her about it. She said, oh, yeah, at night the men come to the women's plastic or tents and open them up with knives and, do their funny things with them. And I thought to myself, this is horrible. So I decided we're going to start a rape support group. I was good at setting these up. I knew how to do this. So I set up a rape support group in the camp. And boy, I tell you, it triggered a lot of political turmoil. And it was basically all the sections of the camp, the Zaireans, Ugandans, all of them had their elders. And all the elders were male, which fit perfectly into my men have power, women don't. So this was kind of my, middle finger to them. And they didn't like, when they first heard I was doing this, I was a target. I was their target. And so I turned it into an arts and crafts group, and we met in the UN compound, which was semi-protected. And we'd meet, I don't know, a couple times a week, and we would talk about rape, which was not even a word in most of their vocabularies. And so here I am introducing this concept of make wrong to a group of women, and we had like 7 different translators for the different languages. It was a wild group. And that went on until I left. And I heard after I left, the elders stopped this whole concept of needing to support the women, which is perfect. It really is perfect. But anyway, Mizrek, again, was very close to her. And I just need to say this about Mizrek. This is, Holy Spirit sent me Mizrek, of that I'm clear. And as I was coming back to the camp, I would pass by her little plastic, and I would drop in, because oftentimes at the end of the day, I would just fall apart. I'd be a mess at whatever I had seen or experienced during the day. And so I'd stop in her tent. And the Ethiopians need to know this. If you're ever out in the boondocks, Ethiopians always have coffee beans with them. They're gold. And so I'd come back from the camp, and Mizra could make me the greatest cup of Ethiopian coffee that I've ever experienced. And I would cry. And there were usually a few people in her tent just chatting quietly. And then there's this white woman that comes in, drinks their coffee, and I'd be sobbing in the corner, just sobbing, tears rolling down my cheeks because I was making it real. But I remember this one, I mean, it happened a lot actually. I would be sobbing. Misrick would sit next to me and she'd just rub my back. And she would continue chatting quietly with her friends, not about me, just offering some love and carrying on with whatever they were carrying on with. And I just need to say that was a real eye opener for me because Mizrach didn't hold this stuff in the same way I did. Different belief structures, same illusion, but different belief structures. So basically, I want to talk about the laws of chaos because that's what I kept coming to. This is chaos, chaos, chaos. And there's a whole chapter 23, the laws of chaos in the text. Okay, this is a quote. The laws of chaos can be brought to light, though never understood. Chaotic laws are hardly meaningful and therefore out of reason's sphere. And this is why war continues, killing continues. It's chaotic, but they can never be understood and they're outside of reason's sphere. Because really, again, God only wants us to love, not to fix broken things, not to make wrong, not to correct anything, really. Just be. Just be. These are tough lessons for a stubborn woman that had a very strong belief system. Yet they appear to be an obstacle to reason and to truth. Let us then look upon them calmly. I love that Jesus used the word calmly, that we may look beyond them, understanding what they are, not what they would maintain. It is essential it be understood for what they are for, because it is their purpose to make meaningless senseless killing, rape, it's all meaningless, really. It's just a lesson somebody needs to learn. Okay. So I was interfering with this truth, and to attack truth. Okay. So, oh, hang on, let me read this over. It is essential it be understood what they would maintain. These are the laws of chaos. For it is their purpose to make meaningless senseless killings, rape, and to attack the truth. Because every time I made someone wrong for raping, I was attacking the truth, which is just to love. Here are the laws that rule the world you made. I made this world as a lesson I would learn. And these are the rules of that world is chaos is. And then I come in wanting to fix broken things. It was, yeah, yeah. And yet they govern nothing and need not be broken, merely looked upon and gone beyond. Oh, Jesus, you're too good. um, so basically, fixing things in Africa became problematic. All of this was to assist me in seeing differently. I still had a major split, though. I wanted the peace of God and I wanted to fix things. You know, thine eye be single in the Bible that I should never quote because I'm not a Christian, but that one makes sense. It's like have one desire and one only. If you split your desires, you're in duality. So all I can say is this one kicked me around a lot. And that's because I couldn't really grok that there was only to be one desire. Yeah, I wanted the peace of God, but look, these people are suffering. They need assistance, and I'm the fixer of broken things. So it's my role to do that. So this idea of fixing broken things was still consuming me. Okay, this is from chapter 23. The first chaotic law is that the truth is different for everyone. Like all these principles, this one maintains that each is separate and has a different set of thoughts that set him off from others. This principle evolves from the belief there is a hierarchy of illusions. It's like this idea of donating blood. My hierarchy said, these Kenyan women are completely wackadoodle, thinking they can't donate blood because it's their soul. Donate blood. It's most helpful to fix broken things. So we were, you know, clashing belief systems. And my hierarchy said I was right. And so I was going to fight just to make sure they understand how right I was. Another constant, issue that beat me over the head more than once. Each one establishes this for himself. Okay. Blood is okay giving to them. Blood is not okay. And makes it true by his attack on what another values. I made them wrong. Okay. The second law of chaos. Dear, indeed, to every worshiper of sin, oh, this is good, is that each one must sin and therefore deserves attack and death. This doesn't, if you make someone wrong because they're being too loud, doesn't sound like that's attack and wanting them dead. But, it is. If you don't stop to correct these little beliefs that enter in, you're going to continue to make the world wrong, which is the world that you made up as lessons you would learn. Yeah, it's a biggie. This principle, closely related to the first, is the demand that errors call for punishment and not correction. I mean, look at the world we live in, just the so-called judicial system. Every country has police, and they, make wrong and punish. And, so the world is the foundation is built on this law of chaos. Another one I love, the laws of chaos. I read a lot just because it so guided my life. From 23 again, see how the fear of God is reinforced by this third principle. Now it becomes impossible to turn to him for help in misery. For now he has become the enemy who caused it, to whom appeal is useless. And this is, and I'll talk more about this when I talk about terminal cancer, but this is a biggie. And we all, even though you might go, well, I don't blame God for this. If you really start looking at it, you do. Is there someone in your life that's sick? And how are you best taking care of them? Are you physically taking care of them? Or are you just praying that they find the peace of God? And it's a subtle one, but we make God wrong because we're still under this idea, even though it may be unconscious, that somehow God had something to do with this. No, we made it up. We're making it up even as we go, okay? And now is conflict made inevitable beyond the help of God? For now salvation must remain impossible because the Savior has become the enemy. I encourage you to read The Laws of Chaos. It's very helpful. If you're thinking this world is real and you see war and that you're making it wrong, you really need to read The Laws of Chaos. If I believe that there are wrong things going on in the world, this was what was really strengthening me by going to Africa. Even though I was given the angel Mizrach for her friend and her friends, I made this insane camp experience more real on a daily basis. Every time I'd walk around the camp going, oh, this is so wrong. And there was so much that was so wrong in my belief system. The woman that gave birth to twins, but in their belief system, twins were evil. And so she just left them. So the 25 relief workers were taking care of twins. It was a crazy time. These beliefs of wrong would really come up to be addressed and cleared with the terminal cancer diagnosis. I'll talk more of it when I get there. Again, chapter 23. There can be no release and no escape. Atonement thus becomes a myth, and vengeance, not forgiveness, is the will of God. From where all this begins, there is no sight of help that can succeed. Only destruction can be the outcome. and God himself seems to be siding with it. This is Jesus, to overcome his son. Think not the ego will enable you to find escape from what it wants. That is the function of this course, which does not value what the ego cherishes. So really, this course is about changing everything. Everything you think has got to be thought of through the eyes of God. Holy Spirit, help me see this differently. My constant prayer for probably the past 12 years. And I'm going to address this probably in the last video. I think I've got 12. There is some stuff going on that is blowing my mind of me healing many of these beliefs that's occurring right now in time and space. And all I can be grateful for is the guidance to do this, whatever this is, vlog, autobiography of an ego, because it's allowing me to clean up all these loose ends of where I continue to make wrong. And I'll say right now, and I'll probably say again, I thank all that have come to me and for whatever they have shared. Usually they're sharing their chaotic life, and I've made them very wrong. And I just say thank you. That's really what I need to say, is thank you for the permission to allow me to make you wrong, because it really was knocking me off my pedestal every time I did it. And all I can say is this entire world is a complete lesson I would learn no matter what. And so with that, thank you so much. And till next time, bye.